Right makes might. Why arbitration is a market failure in evolutionary capitalism. In libertarian and anarcho-capitalist thought, arbitration is held up as the ideal solution to property conflict in a stateless society. When disputes arise, each party voluntarily agrees to submit to a third-party arbitrator, and justice is supposedly preserved without the need for government. But this utopian belief collapses under pressure from basic game theory and real-world incentives. Arbitration only works under two fragile conditions: a shared standard of rule and a shared incentive to arbitrate. This is the key insight of evolutionary capitalism. Arbitration is not just unnecessary, it is a market failure. The two preconditions of arbitration. For arbitration to function, two conditions must be satisfied. Standard of rule. The disputing parties must agree on a common legal or moral framework, a shared standard by which the dispute can be resolved. Without this, there is no basis for the arbitrator to decide anything beyond subjective preference. Incentive to arbitrate. Both parties must believe arbitration offers a better outcome than unilateral action. If one party expects to win through brute force, it has no reason to submit. Without both of these, arbitration is not a solution. It is a ritual, a stall, a pretense of civility in a game that will ultimately be resolved by might. 2. Why anarcho-capitalism fails. Anarcho-capitalist systems, by design, decentralize authority and rely on market competition between private defense and arbitration agencies. But this creates systemic instability. No common standard of rule exists. Different firms enforce different legal codes: Lockean homesteading, contractarianism, restitutionism, or even theocratic law, depending on the client. In cases of dispute, each side can simply hire an arbitrator that agrees with them. This leads to arbitration deadlock, not resolution. No incentive to arbitrate exists for the stronger party. In an unequal conflict, the more powerful actor has every reason to bypass arbitration and seize what they want. There is no higher authority to enforce the outcome. The very structure of anarcho-capitalism ensures that justice collapses the moment it becomes inconvenient to the powerful. Anarcho-capitalism assumes the strong will voluntarily submit to rule. But history and logic tell us the opposite. Might makes right whenever it is not restrained. 3. The irony of anarcho-capitalism. Here lies the central irony. The very conditions anarcho-capitalism depends on, universal enforcement, a trusted legal standard, and a disincentive to use force, can only be maintained by the institution anarcho-capitalists despise, government. Without a centralized authority to impose costs on the strong and provide a uniform standard, the system degenerates into a patchwork of rival fiefdoms. Anarcho-capitalism doesn't eliminate government, it privatizes it and removes all accountability. Even worse, only when you misallocate decision-making power and pervert incentive, such as in democracy, can a system delude itself into thinking that providing laws to sustain arbitration is viable. Democracy dilutes decision-making into the hands of those with no skin in the game, shielded from the consequences of their votes. This allows the illusion that lawmaking, arbitration, and enforcement can persist without regard to productivity or evolutionary cost. But in a system aligned with reality, only productivity can justify power, and only reputational capital can sustain enforcement. 4. Evolutionary capitalism, a system that evolves arbitration out of existence. Evolutionary capitalism solves the arbitration problem fundamentally. Shared rule, the system operates on an objective standard: productivity toward the perfect evolutionary being. Ownership and value are measured through contributions to evolutionary success. Transparent public data is evaluated by competing scoring systems, which converge on the one best aligned with productivity. Shared incentive: if a high bidder offers to acquire property, the current owner faces evolutionary pressure. Losing a war is costly. Refusing the bid incurs reputational damage. Keeping the capital inefficiently signals evolutionary weakness. Thus, accepting the higher bid is the dominant strategy. Evolution selects against owners who resist more productive reallocations. In evolutionary capitalism, right makes might. The productive become the powerful, not the other way around. V. Arbitration as a market failure. Here's the final blow. Arbitration is a market failure. Why? In a system where truth is measurable and reputation is transparent, arbitration becomes unnecessary. Outcomes become self-evident, because refusing a higher bid exposes incompetence. Third-party arbitrators offer no competitive advantage, they are outperformed by the system's own feedback mechanisms. When conflict resolution is embedded in transparent evolutionary bidding, arbitrators become obsolete. No market sustains a redundant function. Arbitration goes extinct not because conflict disappears, but because the solution emerges through price, reputation, and productivity. 6. Conclusion. Anarcho-capitalism imagines that voluntary arbitration can replace government. But this dream ignores the prerequisites for arbitration: shared rules and aligned incentives. Without these, arbitration fails, and only government can artificially enforce them. Worse still, democracy pretends this artificial support can last forever by misallocating decision-making and rewarding short-term delusions over long-term productivity. Evolutionary capitalism faces no such fantasy. It doesn't preserve arbitration, it evolves past it. Through transparent scoring and reputational enforcement, it ensures that the most productive capital use always wins. Right becomes might. Arbitration dies the way all bad business models do, by being outcompete. And justice, at last, becomes self-evident,